hear me now? I think I got it.
Can
Testing,
you
testing, one, two, three. Testing, testing, one, two, three.
your
Can you
mic?
hear me now?
Nah, Shane, we can't. I can't hear you.
I'm just
Okay,
gonna
I can hear you now, Shane.
got it.
Yeah, on my phone I can hear you. Yes.
Just wait. Tell
Okay.
me in the
All right.
comments. Can you
Vera,
hear
Vera
me?
said she can hear you now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Vera
we
said she
got
can
you,
hear
bro.
you.
Wow. I feel like I gotta welcome y'all all over. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all for your patience. Welcome to the walk. Man. I said at the beginning, I felt like it was Freaky Friday today. I thought it was Friday the 13th. It's actually the 18th. I think it was just 5 days late. But you know what has gone right in 2020 anyway? Not even the bad stuff, right? So it's just been crazy all over. But we want to welcome you to the walk. Invite your friends, invite your family. This is going to be a good show, all right? So I'm going to pray one more time. Thank you, God, for bringing us to the end of another week and this opportunity where we can discuss, just have a good time, and just learn about each other and about you. I pray that you guide our hearts, our minds, and our mouths tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All
Amen.
right,
Amen.
all right, all right. I got you, Chuck. I'm following your instructions. All right. So here we go. So, you know, and walk style, we always got to start off with tell us why you're glad. Tell us why you're glad. So this is our version of testimonies time. So just take some time, start thinking about it, put it in the comments. Our panel is going to start off. I actually have something off the top of my head this week. So let me tell you, there's nothing like the feeling of going to the Chick-fil-A app and seeing you have a free reward. So I
Oh,
saw that. I saw it pop up yesterday and it
Oh
was for
no.
breakfast and I saw it at like noon. So I was like, it's going to expire tomorrow, which is today. And I was like, hey Siri, remind me at 8 a.m. to go to Chick-fil-A before work. And I started off my day with some Chick-fil-A chicken minis and I was set for work today. Got me some orange juice and like a parfait, and I was set. So that is just a simple thing, but I'm glad about it. So what about you guys? Why are you glad?
Um, like I was telling Sandra earlier, man, I'm just glad that I still have a job during the pandemic. I can
Mm.
still work, and I can still provide for my family and all of that stuff. You know, it's definitely not as good as Chick-fil-A, getting free Chick-fil-A, but it's something, Shane.
Wait, that's not as good as.
oh, what?
I don't know, man. I might take that over Chick-fil-A, but
Hey, man, Jesus, the Lord's chicken, you
the
can't beat that.
yeah,
You
that's
can't
what
beat
I'm
the Lord's
saying.
chicken.
Ordained by God Himself.
I'm telling
Exactly.
you. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think I'm the same thing. Like, I'm just happy to still be working. Like working at the theme park. You would think no one's coming with the pandemic, so it's just good to like they haven't laid me off.
That's a plus.
Always a blessing to be getting a paycheck.
Right.
Right.
That's right. Man, I'll go along the same vein, man. I'm still at it. No major, nothing happening in the building for the most part. So kids are safe, people are safe, and I tell you what, I'm glad to have human contact.
Amen.
In a safe way. I got to hang out with Shane for a little bit this week. Got to celebrate a little bit. So it's real good to acknowledge somebody else, and that's kind of what I makes me happy. So it was cool hanging out, man.
I liked it. Yeah, yeah. And it was really good. Like it's crazy that this has been happening for well 6 7 months and for some people the whole year so far and it's just like yo it's September, it's midway through September
Yeah,
already.
man.
Like Corona has all basically taken our whole year away from us.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
pretty much.
And I know some people are ready for 2021, but I was like, oh, pause right quick. You don't know what's 2021's about to bring. We don't know if we're
Exactly.
gonna get relief yet from it, but it's just simply even being able to see friends or hang out with friends is like a blessing. And that's one thing about this virus and this situation is like the little things matter. Like the
Yeah, that's
smallest
true.
things, like you have appreciation for now. So it is really, really crazy. Let's see. I only see a few things out here. Like, tell us why you're glad, guys. I see. Alyssa says I'm alive. Like, for real. A lot of people
For
haven't
real.
made it. So that's a blessing. Um, let's see. I see a happy Sabbath from Sister Shaw. Happy Sabbath. And then a Chuck says, "You gentlemen look so handsome." Okay, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Chuck.
Garfield. Garfield said, "I'm glad I started my catering business." Okay.
Oh, my brother
Just got a
Garfield.
car and got
Hey,
another job all in one
congratulations.
week. My life is definitely turning around for the better. Oh,
Hey, congrats, bro.
congratulations, man.
Oh,
Starting
good stuff, man.
businesses. That's what's up. I wish you all
Hey,
the
proud of
best.
you, man.
Go ahead. I don't know if you live around here or in Florida, but just drop your business's name in like the comments so like a couple of us can go ahead and like your page or support you, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, we
He's in the
definitely
Tampa area.
want to support you guys. Bruna got a new car. Okay. What did we get, Bruna?
Okay,
Don't
man,
go
Bruno, that
humble on
car
us
you
and don't
had
tell
looked
us
pretty
what you
new to
got.
me.
Congratulations,
Upgrading
congrats.
the upgrade.
I know. Right.
Hey,
Um,
That's
yo.
that
Like she
pandemic
got it
money
like
right
that
there, man.
pandemic money, that
That's
stimulus
the Trump
money,
check.
that stimulus money. Yeah.
That's
Um,
stimulus check money.
Carolyn said, "I'm glad for continued support from friends and family. This year has been rough, but they keep me going. That support system, that's some support system.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you have it. That's a blessing. Not everybody has that, so I'm so glad that you have that, Carolyn. Um,
Wait, Keenan
Keenan,
got a Tesla?
a Tesla. Oh, and maybe
Keenan,
he's saying
okay,
Bruna
we
got a
doing it.
Tesla.
Keenan got a
Okay.
Tesla? Okay.
All right, brother. Proud of you there, man.
But you know what? I wouldn't
Yo.
be surprised if Keenan got a Tesla, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, I really wouldn't. Um,
Alegna, that's awesome. Back on track with school. What are you gonna be studying, Alegna?
you know what? I think she said something with ministry theology and teaching, I believe.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because I
All right.
remember telling her like two types of teachers, like the spiritual realm and educational realm. So yeah, she's doing that.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Now, Bruno, you can't just put Alfa Romeo on there and not tell us which one. Is
Ooh.
it SUV? Is it the Julia? Like, what? Which one is it?
Yeah, the Julia is nice.
You know, you got some car fanatics on this show, so you got to
I
be
know, man.
specific.
I mean, it's hey,
You got to be specific.
Education, elementary education and theology.
Alegna, that's awesome, man. When that time comes, let me know. I could probably reach out to some people and try to get you in.
Well, look at that. You make sure you record it. Go back.
That's
He's
hard.
gonna try to tell
I
me
know,
to delete
right?
it later.
Make sure
Check
you
on
I'm
screen,
all
hey,
about
make sure you
supporting the
screen record
community,
that part.
man.
Yeah.
All about
Um,
supporting, man.
Make sure y'all go and like George Bryant's 1959. It's his business page on Facebook. Let's support our community.
Good.
All right.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay, yes.
Actually, I'm gonna add to the broadcast, and there it is for you guys to see for a little while. All right. So let's see here. I'm proud of you, but don't you read my Facebook posts? I'm so tired. I don't know who you're talking to, Gavin.
yeah.
I don't know. But I'm so glad that there really is so much to be thankful for, and you always have to have like a praise on your lips, especially now, the way things are going. So you guys can keep on putting them in there. We're gonna just continue along. Um, I want to go to the meme section. So this is like a popular section of this show where basically I screenshot so much stuff as the week goes along. Like I have 16,000 pictures in my phone, and they're not just pictures of me or
You said how
photos.
many?
It's like a lot of them are screenshots. What do you say, CJ?
You said
15,000?
16,000?
16,000.
Jeez.
And that's also why
Yo.
I pay for 2 terabytes of space to Apple. But
Yo.
I digress.
Yo.
So here we go. The first meme. I know there's a delay, so I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit. It says wrong is wrong even when it helps you. Wrong is wrong even when it
True.
helps you. I heard one true. Wow. I thought that was a
That's
meme.
the truth. I mean,
I was like,
is
wait.
this controversial?
I was waiting for the meme to pop up on the screen. It didn't pop up?
Yeah, I was looking for the meme.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was looking for the meme. I'm trying to
is
figure
it
out,
that
like,
far
where's the
behind?
meme?
It don't gotta pop up. I mean, he said it.
You
It
heard
is
it.
what it
You
is.
heard it.
I'm probably lagging on my phone,
I
to be
think it
honest.
probably
Yeah,
is lagging.
I'm looking for it on my phone, on the
Wow.
Oh,
laptop.
wrong. Okay, I see it. Wrong is wrong even when it helps you.
Wrong
Yeah, it's
is
still
wrong.
wrong. I agree.
Yeah.
Right.
So some people get promoted by wrong measures.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
sometimes
know,
like especially when you're doing the right thing and you feel like nothing's happening for you, but then somebody does the wrong thing and you're just like they're getting promoted or whatever that thing is. It's just like you kind of question like why am I even doing what I'm doing? But that's a reminder.
I was having a conversation with somebody about that today. Like usually with those people though, it catches up to them later on.
Right.
Like somewhere they get
Always.
burned.
Always, always, always.
It's hard to remember that though. It really is.
Yeah. So
This next one, I made sure I put the meme up a little bit earlier. So it says today's society, and then it shows some guys in a boat, and one side is like chilling while the other side is trying to get the water out their boat. So it's like, sure, glad the hole isn't on our end. So anybody can relate with that type of mentality in today's world.
Oh,
right
I mean,
now,
that's the whole atmosphere of the nation right now, isn't it?
yeah, it's
Mm.
sad actually. If you really
We're
think about
all
it too.
sinking, and you got one group. I mean, that's a society issue right there.
Yeah.
But why do you think society, just in general, because there used to be a time where people like cared more about each other and stuff like that, but why has it turned to a society where it's more like I'm gonna take care of me?
Capitalism.
Yeah, it is sin.
That's such a fancy
Really the
word for
root
it,
of
man.
this, if we're being honest. Capitalism.
If I mean, it is every man for themselves, man. Get as much
Yeah.
as you can in whatever time you can. Don't sleep. Don't blink, because somebody else is gonna take it from you.
Right. Crabs in a
Um,
bucket mentality.
you know, there are people not taking vacations because they're afraid the next person coming up is gonna, take their position, man. It forces you to do that.
Wow.
And I hate to sit here and talk about the ills of capitalism, because some of us are benefiting from that. Um, that's a big part of it. If you're doing well, um, you just don't care too much about the next man's experience.
Mm.
Yeah.
But isn't it partly because when you care too much, you get burned? Like
There's some truth
people
to
have
that.
been burned in their experience trying to help others, and it's just like it ends up biting them. So they're like, you know what? I'm gonna stop looking out for people. I'm gonna just worry about myself.
There's some
That's
truth
a
to that.
part of it, but I don't think it's the whole thing. I think those people ultimately it's something that's built in them that even when people burn them, they still kind of do it. There's an aspect where you have to protect yourself overall. Like you don't want people to abuse the niceness that you're doing, but at the same time, I don't think it discourages people from doing it.
Well, let me first say, hey, Sister Brian, man, I'm so happy to see you're watching this evening. I just had to put that out there. Um, yeah, I think there's a lack of genuineness in people. There's a lack of self-sacrifice, and selflessness is gone. It is all about self-realization and what I can get out of it. I'm not even too sure if it's about being burned. I think folks have the way things are set up right now. You're almost incentivized um, to just do you, and society backs it up. You're supported in that, and that's kind of what we revel in right now. So um, that's what this country, I think, it's what they value. Our values are wrong.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. Um, let's see. That's the crab in a barrel mentality the world is in. Yeah, very much so. Jamal got another shout out for his for that
It's
telling
crazy
video.
that we used to talk about that as a like a black thing, right? We used to always talk about that being like a black experience, but I feel like, man, that's been so proliferated now. It is us against them. It's what can I get out of it. The greed is crazy right now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and so that's kind of how it's kind of how this whole thing is being framed right now. If you think about even just the conversation from a political party right now, it's all about stock market. It's all about what can I get, what can you get for yourself? And you have those that support that are all going to be for that. And unfortunately, I think sometimes when you see somebody rise in, especially one of your peers, somebody you're close with, you want that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to have that experience. You don't know how to get the experience, so why not have that person feel just as miserable as you are?
Hmm. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. I put up the next meme ahead of time, so hopefully it's on its way to you guys. But this meme basically says, "Don't invite me on a vacation if you stay in hotels like this." And you guys are about to see. Uh, but you know what? At this point, I might just take it.
I don't know about all that, man. I agree. I agree.
Oh yeah, I'm not staying there.
Oh,
That's like
not
a
staying
Holiday
there.
Inn from '95.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm
CJ, you
not
mean you're
staying
not
there.
staying there, bro?
Nah,
Huh?
Wow,
I'm not
wow.
saying
So
that.
nobody's staying here. Okay, comments. Would you guys stay there just to get away?
No, nobody's staying there in 2020.
Nobody's staying there. Wow.
That's
Okay.
not even a whole. That's a motel.
$15
Right.
Miami Beach.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. You guys have spoken. All right. Oh, Yasmin's like no. Like
No.
it's like
Of
looks
course,
like the
Yasmin
resorts
gonna
at
say
my
no.
old job. Oh, don't tell us where that
Woo.
is.
Don't put
Um,
the name out there. Like, don't put it out
Only
there.
Keenan.
I'm with you.
Uh,
Y'all tripping. Wow, that's funny. This next one is up.
what?
Mom is temporarily out of service when lit. Go ask your dad, Vanilla. Any moms that can relate to this?
Yeah, I like that.
You said you liked. Oh, you like that as a
Yeah,
father.
I
Okay.
think I think moms need a break, and
Yeah.
I tip my hat to my wife and a wonderful mom who's holding it down with two kids at home while running her practice. She needs a break, and that's happening more now than used to. So absolutely.
All right. Okay. But ladies, would you be fair and not always keep it lit? Because I just want to know once you get a candle like that in your possession, is the flame always going to be on,
It's
or
gonna be
are
lit.
you going to blow
It's
it out
gonna
at
be
some
lit
point?
all
I'm
day, every
grateful
Hey,
day,
I don't
the
touch
wax
all
got to
anything
day.
burn
lit
out at
anyway.
some point.
And
Don't
they
forget to
like
buy another
I
one, Candy.
prepared for it. I just got another one.
Right.
Oh man, that's funny. This one, I don't know whose week might have been like this. It said Kevin Gates, I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired, and then it shows a picture of you working your one job. Did it come up?
Yeah, it did. Oh,
It
that's
did.
Yeah, I got it.
what's her name?
Wendy Williams, yeah.
Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
Yikes.
She
So,
crying?
huh?
No, she's not.
But
I'm just
some people are
talking.
just so it's just talking about the stress of like jobs sometimes. That it's just
Yeah.
like some people are like hustling like multiple jobs and they're just
Hmm.
like doing good, and then like some people with just one job are just like it's just
But I
Jobs like
tell you
choices, so
what,
like they
though,
start to give you like multiple things to do.
I feel like those that are hustling, because Carrie's like that, right? She's hustling these different things, but I feel like even though there's a lot of time being invested in it, I think you almost get a break from one thing to move to another thing. And I'm not
mm,
saying it's not stressful, but it's like when you're kind of entrenched in that one thing that you're doing and you can't kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Um, I think that kind of you kind of feel trapped almost because I remember those days where I had multiple things going on. I didn't feel tired. But when you have that one thing, you just kind of you feel locked in, you
mm-hmm.
know?
Gavin's like they're running a special on him, but he's the losing end. My one job is 10 jobs for the price of one. Wow. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Your reward is coming, man. The next one is up. I need to stay 6 feet away from my debit card. That's what I really need to do.
Oh, yikes. That's definitely true.
Especially now, right?
Right.
Especially now. Like I know like some people it's like retail therapy but through your phone and through your laptop. It's just like
Right.
you'd be home and you would just like key in numbers. Like some people got their numbers memorized. I'm always amazed when somebody knows their whole credit card or debit card number, the 3 digits in the back, the expiration date, and oh, you're that, and you got like 5
I
cards.
used to be. I
Oh,
used to be.
Oh,
My primary card,
Jamal.
I had to, it broke, so I had to request a new one. They changed the number, or something happened. I had to change the number, but I used to know it, every single detail.
Yo,
I
that's
think I've
crazy.
had one card for years, and I all I know is it ends with these 4 certain numbers. That's it. That's all I got. That's
I
it.
always just remember the security code number on the back, the little 3 digits. That's it.
I can do that. I can do that. But okay, this is you guys are resonating with this one. I know my debit card number by heart. Facts. This one's for me. This one's for me.
Damn.
Oh man, that is funny. I know the whole number by heart. That's crazy. This one, just last two. Before I agree to 2021, I need to see some terms and conditions. Before I agree to
Right. We
2021.
need a full contract
Right.
before we step into 2021.
We're not
Is this
getting
gonna
the
be the same
totally
thing
sober.
or even worse? Like I think I'll stay here.
You know what? I might even take a trip backwards at this point.
Right. 2019 doesn't seem that bad if you think about
Right.
it.
It
That's
seems all
funny.
right now. It seems all right. Um,
Right.
and this last one says that fear is a virus too. Fear is a virus too.
That is true, and it
Yeah, it is.
spreads.
Yeah.
And if you want a definition of how that spreads right now, just look at the current political climate. I mean, that's just all fair.
Yeah.
It's a selling point. It's a selling point in multiple areas. Like
Yeah, it does
even
so.
They're
with
gonna destroy the suburbs.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
everywhere. It's just like a selling point. Even when you want to be sold on like even like the like things in the when they're doing demonstrations in like Sam's or Costco and they're like they show you the knives and stuff like that and they're telling you about what the stuff that you have at home can and can't do like why you should and like there's it's all about a lot of like the selling points for things is like if I can scare you I can like convert you.
That's
Pretty
right.
much.
True.
That's
Dude,
a
you hear it every 5 o'clock. What's hiding in your closet? Tune in at 10 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
I'm like you gonna let me wait 5 hours to find out what could kill me in my closet?
Oh, right, right,
You know
right.
what I
If
mean?
Exactly.
you really cared that
Tell me
much, you
right
tell me
now.
now. Right.
Yeah.
Yo, Shane, it's funny that we're talking about this. Remember when we had a discussion about fear? Like it was on a walk topic, and it
Mhm.
was actually a video with
Oh,
it was in the
yes.
dark and the shadow was
Yeah,
chasing
yeah,
you or
yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
and it
Mhm.
was talking about fear.
It was talking about fear. Fear gets people, man. It's the
Hmm.
dark, everything. Fear drives people. So this is kind of our transition now into our main discussion. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch this over to Jamal. He's gonna lead us into this first part. We invite you guys to keep on talking to us, and as we go into this discussion, definitely share and like this. Our views are starting to go up, so continue to share so everybody can be a part of this.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna jump right into it, and like Shane said, please contribute your answers. All right. Um, so I wanted to take a moment to talk about why we as Christians struggle when it comes to having a positive, focused mindset in the face of adversity. Like I think it's become especially apparent now with the pandemic how a lot of us have been, I guess, rock and roll. Me personally, like I was talking about even in the beginning, like I was afraid I might lose my job. So in these type of like weird situations where we talk about it in church, like we have to rely on God, no matter what's happening, like keeping our faith. Why do we think that is it sometimes that we may fall into this kind of self doubt, or instead of having that focused mindset, like we know, like we read in the Bible, talking about how God's going to take care of us, He'll see us through, even when the situation is bad. That it's really just so easy to just fall into that mindset where it's just like things are going to fall apart. Yeah, I know about God, but this situation looks bad. Like we look at it at face value versus looking at it, I guess, from a deeper sense to understand that maybe God's working through the midst.
Hmm.
So, what are some of the things that you think are the major roadblocks to us to kind of keeping that focus and positive mindset when everything's falling apart around
I
Hmm.
would say everything sounds good until you're going through it.
Right.
Like
us? So
those
Easier
true.
sermons
said
be
than
like,
done.
yes, amen, that's so true. But then when it's like, okay, you have the tools, but it doesn't seem like that tool will fit your situation for some reason. It's just
Right.
like I don't know, it's just different when you have to actually apply what you've always heard and it just doesn't feel like it's working.
Do you think that it's a I guess a piece of like our foundational relationship with God? Do you think that may play a role into it?
I would definitely say that I feel like at times we are taught about God just wrong a little bit, or like just even make our own assumptions of God a little bit. Like I think at times, especially in our earlier journey with God, we think that if we pray or when we get baptized and stuff like that, things should all automatically go and be on the up and up. Um, and if that's your idea of God, and then that doesn't happen doubt comes in, right?
Yeah.
But I think if it goes towards a relationship standpoint of like, now because you are with me, as in like you're with God now, he's got you. So he will take you through the storm. It doesn't mean that storms won't happen, but now you have like protection through the storm, that he's going to take you through the storm. And I think that's where the teaching has to like change a little bit. And for our mindsets, it's just understanding that God's not about just making things magically disappear or magically work out, but he's going to take you on this journey, but he's got you covered through it.
Right, right, right.
It's funny, like I used to always hear like the prosperity message, like preachers like, you join this church, God's gonna take your income tenfold, like he's gonna supply for you, you're gonna have the mansion here in the earth. It's like you're selling this kind of like unrealistic dream to people. I mean, granted it may happen for some people, but ultimately we're all gonna face like trials and tribulations. So it's not like we're all just gonna like get baptized and then boom, walk into a 6-figure job and everything just kind of falls into place. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely,
And
definitely.
I think even it's kind of like a consistent theme that we see in the Bible, like people on a walk with God that kind of just have a lot of stuff going on. Like it doesn't seem like things just work out magically for them.
Right. I
Well, I
think
mean,
I think that's very true. All right, go
we
ahead,
gotta
Sept,
be
bro.
tried, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's a part of the refining process. If things always went good, would we eventually think it's us and not God anymore? And would we rely on Him as much? Sometimes you get knocked down so low, you have no chance, no choice but to look up and see God. But um, yeah, I agree with Shane's point on. I think for a lot of us, and I would attest to that. I think we got sold. We were sold to God. We weren't presented with him for who he is. We kind of got sold, and there was some fear in that selling too, right?
Yeah.
The hell and damnation and all of that stuff. Um, and then you found out, like Eve, that you didn't surely die right away when you sin. Instead of really going through, if you love me, keep my commandments. If you come into a relationship, you will not want to hurt God and all of that. Um, but I agree with that, Shane. I think we just we were told about God in kind of the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. I like
Do you guys feel that it's a good thing that we kind of fall into these situations, these tough situations that kind of try us?
Absolutely. Because you don't like let's be real. How many people? And I'm telling you, I go through these ebbs and flows, and I've been going through the Bible this year, and just finish up Job, and now kind of deep in the Psalms, and um if you it's, when things are going good, you kind of take your foot off the gas for a little bit, right? You
Mm-hmm.
kind of, you kind of hit your cruising speed. 70 miles an hour. Things are going good.
Sweet spot.
There's no cop or nothing like that. But your heart starts racing when you see those lights, right? And then you say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh God, I need you to help me." You know what I
right.
mean? That's kind of how I think that's how humans work, and we have to learn to praise God in the good times and the bad times. And some of us are not good at that. And I was talking to Ethan just the other day, and sent him to bed, brushed his teeth, and everything. And I went in just to kind of tuck him in, and I said, "Did you pray?" And he was like, "No." I'm like, dude, how you gonna go to bed without praying? Like, you're not even sure you're gonna wake up. You know what I mean? Like, how are you doing that? But there's so many of us that wake up without praying. We go to bed without praying. We get in the car without praying. And then the moment something happens, woe is me, God, I need your help. And so we almost just kind of we treat God like like an ATM machine. Like, we got to make a
Yeah.
withdrawal, God. So let me pray. I've been good. I've been trying hard. But give me this $20 real quick. You know what I mean? That's kind of how we treat God, and that's just not. He wants to do so much more. And I think these situations kind of knock us low and reminds us that we're humans,
Yeah.
and that we do have to rely on this source of our strength and a resource in times of need.
I don't, but why does it
I'm
have to be that way? Like, why can't there be an exception to the rule where like someone gets it and doesn't have to be knocked down like to get it? You know, Like, why does it just seem like a human has to go through that?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying you have to
Oh,
go
I'm not
through it.
saying to you. I'm just saying in general.
I mean, so you look at the story of Job, right? Job is
Right.
this guy that was doing well, and he's probably the perfect example for the topics that we're handling tonight. But he's tried and he's tested. And he kind of goes through this schizophrenic chapter after chapter of not blaming God, then kind of justify himself and saying I didn't do anything wrong. Um, that's I think it's I mean if it was happening back then, and keeping in mind Job is the oldest book of the Bible, man. I mean, this has been happening for a long time. Genesis chronicles the beginning, but Job is the oldest book. So this has been going on for thousands of years. Is kind of how it's been. I don't think we have to go through it. Think Job was honoring God and was good with God before something negative happened. So I don't think that's the case, and I don't think everybody, even viewers, has always gone through a negative patch. You go through patches of life. That's natural. So long as there's sin, negative things are going to happen. And that's a consequence of the fall of man also. But I don't think that's always the case. And so it's hard, but that's where I went back to. I'm just kind of trying hard to make sure that connection is strong when nothing is happening. Because what do they say? You either just came out of a situation, you're in a situation, or about to go into a situation. So we've got to keep that connection strong.
So I'm gonna take this to you guys watching. Would you guys think it's something that's necessary to go through, or do you think that's kind of like it's a bad thing when you're going through hard times? Like, why is God throwing these situations at me? Come on, you guys, talk to me.
So Alegna has this great point, right? Like she says, I think sometimes when you see devastating things happening to people around you, it can make you doubt and question why God allows these things to happen. So when they happen to you or you run into any hiccups, you immediately get the fear. And I think that is very true. David has these almost rants in Psalms where he's just like the evil people prosper and they steal and their life is long upon the earth. Why am I going through this? And they get to steal and kill and they succeed. But I think it's the same thing. We look out on the world and man, that's really tough that you're going through that, man. I'm going to pray for you. And
Yeah.
we kind of just parse it off like that. And then when it happens to us, it's hers. And I give you a prime example from this week. I was telling Shane this week, the AC went out. And we've only had this house for 3 years. And it's crazy because I'm driving home, right? My dad calls me and tells me, hey, my AC went out. And I'm like, oh man, Dad, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Like, that's really tough right now. In the back of my head, I'm like, stuff happens. It's tough. You can get through it. You can pay for it. It's not that big of a deal. And I'm saying, it's tough, but go ahead and have you call the AC guy to come fix it. So I said, well, you go ahead and do that. So I keep on driving home, and I get home, and I'm sitting down in front of the TV about to watch a game. I'm like, honey, it's kind of warm in here, man. Is the AC on? But I'm thinking, I just came home. I'm kind of warm right now.
Yeah.
And she says, yes, it has been feeling kind of warm. So I go upstairs, take a shower. I look at the AC, says 77, but the house is 83.
Whew.
And I'm like, God, you've got to be kidding me, man. You have a sense of humor. So, I kind of had that same kind of reaction, like, it's tough that's happening to you. It's not happening to me right now. And then when it's me, I'm like, Lord have mercy. Now I got to find somebody to fix my AC. So I think that's exactly how things work out, man. But I tell you what, I thank God for that situation because I had more empathy for my dad's situation because of that.
I remember I saw this tweet on Twitter. It was like when black people when black church people tell you like I'm gonna pray for you, it's like that was the prayer.
That's so true.
That was the prayer. Like, hey, I'm gonna pray for you because it's easy to fall into this like I'm gonna pray for you. It's like glad it ain't me.
Yes.
And you don't actually
glad it ain't me.
You don't actually consciously like think like I'm glad it's not me, but then your actions actually say like, I'm glad it wasn't me, right? But I was gonna actually throw this out too. Actually, somebody said we go through things different for different reasons. Things happen to you for your own growth. However, we are linked as humans, and sometimes we go through things so that others can grow too. Not every bad thing that's happening is about you. Sometimes you need to meet people and be a light to them.
That's
Wow.
so
Mm,
true.
That's a
Yeah,
Because
very
they
for
can be a
mature
sure.
outlook
testimony to
too.
somebody who may be going through it.
Yeah,
That you can like, hey, like I've been there, I've gone through it. You'll see it through.
right.
right.
Um, I mean, Jamal, I'm just gonna like throw this out there,
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
like something hit when you asked this question. But isn't this the argument that atheists they give all the time? Like, why
Yeah,
would like a good God that you like worship and all this type of stuff like allow stuff like this to happen?
yeah. And it's funny. Like I remember, I watched this. I forgot what it was, and it was this pastor talking about. He said he always asked them like, "Tell me about the God you don't believe in," because a lot of times people's perception of God is that it's kind of like this prosperity mess. Like you guys say if you believe in this God, everything's gonna work out. Your lives are gonna be such happiness, and then you look around, it's like all these Christians like their lives are failing and things are hard for them. It's like you'd still like believe in this God. Like people are getting murdered on the street, and I think a lot of times a lot of people look at it wrong. It's like they should look at it saying, is it truly God who wants these things to happen, or is it a consequence of sin that is something that he tried to avoid from the beginning? So
Exactly.
And are we even living up to the ideals that God has asked us to live up to? I mean,
Mm,
that's
yeah,
that's the thing. It's like we sit around saying all the stuff, bad stuff has happened. How many situations did we get ourselves into, and then we blame God, asking Him to take it, and then we get mad at Him for not getting us out of the situation we put ourselves into? Um, so and to be honest with you, um, you use the example of the atheist asking. Christians ask that question too. You know
hmm
what I mean? Like, why do it's I can tell you over the years I've had my questionings. I've gone through some situations where I'm just like, come on, man, like this is
yeah,
too much. This burden is too much, and so you start going back to the scriptures, and you're just like, why is this happening to me? Um, but sometimes I've come to the conclusion that some of these trials that we go through are happening for me, not to me,
mm,
and it's happening for me to grow. It's happening for me to have a testimony. It's happening for me to be refined. It's happening for me to become stronger. It's happening for me to face an even greater trial. It's happening for me to get to the end of this race,
hmm
and to be tested, to be tried and true, and then be able to have an opportunity to enter into the glory of God.
I love
yep,
that.
definitely. So we got a couple comments. Gail said we go through things for our growth, trust, dependence, and another level of faith in God. And
Yeah.
Keisha says exactly. Sometimes our struggles are consequences of our own decisions, and I
Mm,
agree with both of them because if we think about our relationship, I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead where sometimes God puts us through stuff. Like I'll use myself as an example. When I used to be in college and I'm like breezing through a course, I'm like, I got this. Like I wouldn't say I went as far as like I don't need God, but it's like I wouldn't be relying on him as I would if I was struggling in a class. And then God would like throw a curveball in my life, like, oh, you failed that exam. Oh, you failed that exam. It's like now I'm in this position where I need to again rely on God. And it's like something that he wouldn't want to put me through, but it's like you keep forgetting every time. Things get good and then you forget. So it's like you maybe need to stay in a situation that's a little bit harder, and then if I have to go through that learning process over and over again. So sometimes it's really us that where the
Yeah.
situation goes bad.
Yeah, you kind of need that humbling experience.
mm, humbling.
Absolutely.
And that's the key, like, um that's where you kind of, I guess, have to remember that God views things just way differently than a human mind would. So like what feels like a trial and like the worst of the worst for us is like what Sanjay said earlier, is like, oh, I'm just refining you. So I remember when Pastor Wesley Knight talked about, fires, and he talked about how in California they have controlled burns. So like the very thing that usually is just like destruction and you think like it's all over is something that firefighters would use to like set a controlled burn over an area to make sure something else in the future wouldn't happen. And I was like, when he talked about how fire just really usually has this look of something, but it depends on who's using the fire. And like that's the same thing, you know, that he talked about with like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he's like the fires that were meant to consume them only burned like the ropes off their hands and
Rope.
stuff like that. And it's like it's all depends on who's using the fire. So our view of it can just be so totally different than God's view. So I guess that's like the encouragement there is just like that's why you have to make sure you're on the right team, because like if God's
Yeah.
got you covered, he's going to take you through the fire.
Yeah.
I have a
So
question.
Carolyn, oh, go ahead.
So do you feel like some of us go through more trials and tribulation than others because of like generational curses, or do you think it's
Mm.
just random?
So some there's something about coming into contact with Jesus, submitting to his will and doing things his way. And it's tough to break those familial or um those situations that you're born into, right? You don't have a choice. It's hard to
Hmm.
break those cycles of poverty and pain and homelessness. Whether it be whatever it is, it's hard to break those cycles because you're kind of consumed by community, consumed by the mistakes of your parents, and they can only take you so far
Right.
because they've been what they are, and so that in and of itself becomes the curse, right? You're born to parents who have always overdrafted or have always been in this
Hmm.
poverty situation. So you've learned to live like that. But it doesn't mean you can't break the cycle. And I think that it
Mm.
goes back to that. It's um I don't know that there is generational curses per se. I mean that's dealt with in the Old Testament, but a lot of that's broken when you look at New Testament scripture. But people are certainly born in a situation. I can tell you, I see sometimes parents that come in. I can tell you right now, I have a mom that's 30 years old with 5 children,
Woo.
right? And you got grandma that's 40 something years old, right? Great grandma is 50 something years old.
Oh wow.
And you see the clear cycle.
Yeah.
And I remember
Hmm.
seeing this current situation. I remember seeing back when I was a second year teacher 13 years ago. And it was crazy to me that I'm seeing, grandma is I'm sitting here like, wow, like what's going on here?
Grandma's
But
paying
it's that
price.
cycle. I always tell my girls, like, make sure you don't make that same mistake. I can tell I've looked at records of kids, and they were in elementary school, but they were enrolled in school at birth, because they were at the district daycare kind of a deal. Those situations happen. So you're in that cycle that you can't break, but it doesn't mean you can't break it. And that's the freeing nature of the gospels, is that you can break it. But the question I would ask is, how willing are you to break it?
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
how hard are you willing to fight to break a situation? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm getting a little bit older, y'all, and I was a very fit young man. I'm telling you, man, age is knocking. Doing these exercises and finding a time for this stuff is that much harder. And
Mm.
every morning when I wake up, I have to make that choice at 5:30. Like, are you gonna go on this run right now?
Mm.
And some mornings I roll right back over, man. It's not
The
happening
answer is
today.
no.
You know what I mean? I want that body back, but I'm not
Yeah.
willing to work for it.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to be willing to work for it. So are we willing to work for what God told us he would freely give us?
Hmm.
And are we really doing what he's asked us to do? You know what I mean? Like, are we being chaste?
Yeah.
Are we dibbling and dabbling in promiscuity? Then we shocked when we have an STD or a kid pops up. You know what I mean? Are we out there wasting money, on credit cards or whatever, and then we're upset because now we're in all this debt and we don't know how to pay it off? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you
Right.
can't have it both ways. So if you want to live your life, go live your life without bounds.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna blame God for you making your own decisions, that to me is not fair to God. it almost becomes a charge the devil had against them. And we can't allow that to seep in.
So,
Yeah.
oh,
I
go
think
ahead, Jamal.
I was gonna say, I think I was gonna you're gonna say the same thing as me going to Carolyn's question. I think we have to evaluate it differently. Carolyn said, are you not tired of going through trials and tests though? Because I honestly feel like I'm always going through a trial, self-inflicted or not. And I think that last part's maybe the most important part, to evaluate your situation and say, is this of my own doing? Maybe am I contributing to the situation I'm in, or is this kind of something unexpectedly that keeps happening that's negative in my life that I really had no control over?
Right.
Mm. That's interesting, right? So, um, that's what, and I was actually gonna, mention her question because I think that's one of like the realest questions that so many people go through, including myself, at some point. Like you're wondering, like, why do you always feel like this thing is happening to you? And I think whatever, insert your thing in the word thing, and like everybody has something that they feel like is always happening to them. Or they always have to go through. Um and what you guys were
I like Miss Patterson's one here. I mean, this is
what's she saying?
I think a great follow up to that, and stubbornness, um, hard heartedness, and some because of the calling that God has placed in your lives. And that's tough when God put
Mm.
a calling on your life and you doing something else.
Oh man.
So look at Pharaoh, right?
Look at Jonah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, Moses done came back and said, "Let my people go," and now it ain't happening. So you keep going through this trial. But and Pharaoh wasn't even a believer. But Noah, let's get to him. My man
Tons of
went
that.
3 times the distance in the opposite direction than he should have gone. You know
Right.
what I mean? And then you it's but he had this moment of enlightenment when he's like, oh man, like okay, I'm gonna do what you told me to do. I didn't agree
Yeah.
with you before, but I'm gonna go ahead and get this done. Some of us need to get to that place where it's like, let me go ahead and get this done because we are stubborn.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
are, I mean, we are stiff necked people.
Yeah, and they
And
Mhm.
always say
so
that Noah looked like a fool until it rained. And look
that's
how
right.
long he had to wait for the rain,
Wow.
though.
Yeah.
That's
It's
right.
like, man, like you just gotta. It's so crazy how it feels like God. He really has to have a grip and a grasp on timing and the reason of why. And like this might be one of those things that they say like if you have any motivation to get to heaven, it's one of them got to be to ask him questions because like you're like
Yeah.
I
Why?
have to
Why?
know
Yeah.
why things happen this certain type of way, right?
Yeah.
And like I think
Mhm.
that's just one of those areas that you literally have to be God to be able to answer it in like a specific and precise way because like no human like explanation like fully explains away like okay, God, I get it. Like I get that you can bring me through, but why do I even gotta face it to begin with? And like to eat, no matter how much you hear, like it's to refine you, it's to humble you, it's to make you better, it's to make you stronger. Like you get
I hear
that,
all of that.
but
Yeah,
then like
you don't want to
sometimes it
hear that
just
at the end
still
of the day.
feels like
Right.
so rough. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
just like it doesn't
You-
help in that moment. So it's just like, what do you really do? Like I get maybe all of us just needs to think about the last time like we went through something and like obviously we're not where we were when that situation happened. So like how
Mhm.
did you get to the point? How did you get through it? How did you get over it? Like maybe that's what's going to help us to like really break down like why and how we can get through these things.
Talk to us, Siege. I want to hear your point on this one. That's a good
Yeah,
question, Shane.
I don't think there's like a clear cut, dry answer for anything when you go through things, to be honest. Like each person has their own temperaments, each person has their own trials and tribulations. So it just depends on if you have somebody in your corner willing to listen to you or somebody that knows you to help you get through that situation. Some people might need to take a walk, some people might need to listen to music, some people might need to play the drums or play a specific instrument, or some people might just need to just relax and sit down. So it all depends on who you are and the type of person or whatever it is that you're going through to help you get over that situation. For me, when I'm upset, I either listen to music or play the drums or go for a drive.
Hmm.
That's just me.
Let me tell you this, right? I'm gonna give y'all. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. I remember going for my master's degree, and like my whole mindset was, if I don't get this done now, I'm not going back and getting it. So like that's why I got it so quick, because I just know myself, right? And so I was doing good, like things were going flying colors, like a similar experience to Jamal. And then the last semester hit. Like I was like kind of pumped, like I was like, yo, I'm here, like I'm about to graduate. And there's this one class, I don't even remember the name. I don't want to remember the name of the class, to be honest. Like it like I'm still that scarred about the class. I dropped this class twice, right? Because my grade was just so bad. And I was like, I need to abort before this like permanently affects my record, right? So after the second time, like I got to the point where I was asking God, like, okay, really, was I really not supposed to do like this whole mess? I'm questioning the whole degree path. I was like, if I wasn't
Of
supposed
one
to do
class.
this, like, why did I even get into the school? Why did I have to go through all these classes? Why am I in so much debt now, only to be at this point and like not being able to pass this class? And then so things started going through my mind. I was like, yo, maybe I need to switch schools. I started looking at applying at different schools, and like, mind you, I'm on the last semester. Like I literally only have two classes. I'm about to pay an enrollment fee, application fees, like try to find these classes. I don't even know if they're going to take all my credits or not. Like all this stuff is going through my mind, and when I really started to pray about, like, I had to like really start to pray. Something just told me like, no, do it again, enroll again. I was like, there got to be a different professor or something. No, only one professor. So I was like, so like, you know what they say about foolish things? Like, why would you repeat the same, like all the same things and expect a different result, right? I took the class again, and I got to the place where the 2 weeks before the class ended, I had a D still. Third time around. You need for that class, not even just a 70C, you needed a 75C to pass the class.
Mm.
So all I had left was a bonus assignment. She's like, okay, it's extra credit. And, she's like, you would have to get 100 on this last assignment, which is your final, um, to be able to get a C minimum, right? And I was like, the 75. I drove to the campus. It was in Lakeland, all that type of stuff. I talked to her. She's like, "That's all I can offer you. Get 100 and do the bonus assignment, and you might be good." I did the assignment, guys. It was a 12-page paper. I didn't even have time for the bonus assignment. I was like, "God, this isn't your hand. Like, I guess I'm taking this class again, right?" When she graded that paper, like, when you get the results of something, you're scared to open it. Like I was
Mhm.
so scared to open up the grades of this assignment, and like when I saw a 100% and it brought me to like a 75.1, I was like, oh, like you don't know the type of relief until you go through something like that, and like he brings
Yeah.
you through it. And like I know, like waiting during that period, I was like, yo, I should have did that bonus assignment. Like what if I don't get 100? Like, but I was at the place where I literally put full dependence on God on this, and I was like, this is it. And like literally walking across that stage was just that much more impactful on the other end of it. But I had to get through it, and if I didn't have that testimony, like this degree wouldn't mean so much to me. So I don't know if that actually helps somebody, but like that's just my personal experience of like being on the verge of like what felt like failure, hardship, and stuff like that. But like I think that did something for my faith where it helped me in other areas.
And
Mm.
don't you appreciate it that much more? Because now, when you're reaping the benefits of the blessings of that moment,
Yeah,
do you not don't you relish that moment? Like, I got through it, and because I was able to get through that refining process, all of these other doors are opening up for me now.
right.
But I wouldn't have the tenacity or the strength to make it in my current environment had I not gone through the trials on the back end.
And that's crazy, Sanjay, because look, people will only see where I'm at right now. So all
That's
that's
it.
all they'll see, right? Unless you know the backstory of like what I went through to get like even to like this moment of like multiple job rejections, like
That's
all
it.
these type of things. Like people can just be like, "Oh, look at you!" Like where you, like
Right. Like
there's
That's
a
it.
it was
story.
a struggle to get here. And I think
That's
that's one
it.
of the best things going through those situations is that
Jamal, you sound kind
you
of far
really
away.
I do it's the headphones, man. Hold on.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear me at all?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
Now we
good.
got
You're
you.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best things when you're going through those situations because you really honestly learn to rely on God. And it may be you may fall into it a little bit more, but you got to reflect back on those situations where it
Yeah.
was super hard. Just like, that was like a really hard situation I was going through. And granted, it sucks when you're going through it. Like
Yeah,
nobody
man.
enjoys going through it. But like with Shane with his degree, like being able to see that grade instills your faith even more.
Yes.
God really took me through, and I
Yeah.
really, really needed him this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you value it so much more, man. Like and you're right. People just they see the accomplishments, they see the end results, and they're just like, it must have been easy for you. Like I was telling the kids at the church graduation, like just to get on the platform to my trajectory was 15 rejections just to get in the door. You know what I mean? But all you see is the end result and the title. And I'm like, nah, we was out here grinding. I was working,
Right.
2 jobs out here. I was, you know what I mean? Like leaving one job to rush to go pick Ethan up. And Sister Brian, thank God I had you in the life because I was able to pick him up from school, rush him over to your house so you would watch him in the evenings, and I had to rush back to the next job. And then when that was over, I had to rush back over to pick him up from Sister Brian. And talk about God putting blessings in your life, but it was hard because you're putting in all these hours and then you're doing this while you're in school, while you're going on interviews, doing all of these things to try and get ahead. But it's work, but I appreciate it.
Mm.
Boy, do I appreciate all of that because when the stresses come now,
Yeah.
you start reflecting on, man, I went through all of this stuff. If I
Right.
can get through all of that stuff,
Right.
I'm good to go, man. I'm good
That's.
to go. Like I tell people all the time, man, my first year of my current job, I had an $800,000 deficit that I had to cap. You know what I mean? So this year, when it's 300,000, this is a drop in the bucket. I can fix this. You know what I mean? But you gotta go through those stresses, man. I didn't get gray hair still a couple years ago. You know what I mean? Um, but if God took me through that, He'll take me through this right now. But I'm with you 150%, Shane.
Mm.
I finished my master's when Ethan was in the NICU, dude. You know what I mean?
Wow.
99 days in that NICU. But it's hard. You know what I mean? You go into the hospital after work at 4 o'clock. You stay until 2 in the morning. You barely making it home to 3:30 in the morning. You got to be back up again at 6 o'clock to go to work. It's hard. You got to do that over and over, and you're in school at the same time. So you're working, you're in school, and you got a baby that you don't know whether he's gonna live or die.
Wow.
But 10 years later, what you see is this 10-year-old kid doing okay. You know what I mean? You don't see all that struggle. So, but that is what it's about. It's the struggle. And lest we forget, Jesus carried a cross for us here.
Yep. It
And
wasn't
didn't
You know
do
what I mean?
easy
nothing.
at all.
Yes, I'm saying a crown of thorns and everything. You know what I mean? Persecuted, jail for crimes he didn't commit, spat on. You know what I mean? Beaten. I mean, listen, man. You take your trials for what they are. You know what I mean? Take it and grow from it, man.
And I think ultimately what we're seeing as a consistent theme with all the answers that we're given is that it's really a matter of just not quitting. Like I wrote down
Yeah.
a couple of quotes. I wrote down a couple of quotes. They're not from the Bible or anything, but like one of them is every champion was once a contender that refused to give up. But another one is the difference in winning and losing is most often not quitting. And then lastly, success in life is not for those who run fast, but for those who keep running and always on the move. And it's like
Mm.
even though everything's falling apart, it may seem really hard. The people who end up becoming successful, the people who end up, reaching that finish goal, is because they just didn't quit no matter what was happening. Like they just kept themselves focused. And I think that's one of the great things when we have a relationship with God. Like when, especially being a Christian, that our focus can really come from God. Like God can really narrow our focus and help us understand what's most important and help us have that, I guess, that drive and that spirit to overcome situations when they come our way. And it's great with God. It's like, okay, God, it's almost like he has like a pamphlet. It's like, well, remember when I took you through this, or remember when you brought this situation 5 years ago, you thought everything was gonna fall apart, and I saw you through, or whatever it may be. It's like he has like this it's like a receipt. It's like, yo, show me the receipts, and God's like, here's all the receipts. Like I took you through all these situations already. Like just trust me. and everything's gonna be fine.
Mm, that's a word, bro. Like check my receipt. I like that. Like especially a saying now is like, like I have my receipts. Like and like
That's
God
it.
just like look at my track record. Like come on. But it's still like unless you actually are intentional about like thinking about how God brought you through when that next thing comes up, like you have two options and like I kind of have to look at it as I know in shows like back in the day, you would have like the devil on one side and God on the other side. Like sometimes I actually have to look at my life that way to like make it real for me. And like I'm saying to myself like, yo, I'm in that position right now, and like what I do, what I say right now is making the left or the right happy right now. And like I have to realize that like they're literally fighting over me, and one sees me as valuable, and one is just trying to make a point, and that's the part that we gotta get. So this is I'm gonna ask you guys this question, um, and it stems from what Jamal was talking about trust. Like, what are some of the top phrases you hear when you think about trust out there? And I'll give you I'll start you off with one. Like we hear the phrase trust issues. Like that's just one of those phrases that when you hear the word trust, the next word or the next phrase like you hear is like issues. So what are some phrases that you've heard that relate to trust?
Trust and accountability.
Oh, trust and accountability. Okay. I like that.
Hmm.
How about
Trust
even
no one.
trust no one?
Yeah,
That's
no
me.
one.
Trust no one.
Trust
Yeah.
no one. Wow, wow, wow. That's crazy. How about trust fall?
Yeah.
You've heard of
Yeah.
trust fall. Um,
Trustworthy.
you said which one?
Trustworthy.
Yeah.
Trustworthy. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Trust God.
Oh, trust God. Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
can't
Trust
forget
God.
about God. Yeah,
Trust in the Lord. Thank you, Vera. Trust
yeah.
in honesty.
Hallelujah.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, this one was a quote I found. Love all, trust few, so wrong. Do wrong to no one.
Okay.
Love all, trust few, and do wrong to no one. Has anybody ever heard of that one?
No.
Mm-mm.
Huh. That's interesting.
I've heard that.
Um, Maya Angelou said this thing: I don't trust people who don't love themselves and tell me I love you. There's an African saying which say, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt.
Ooh,
Whew.
hoo, hoo, hoo.
If you don't
Wow.
believe in
Whoa.
yourself, how can I trust you to
Right,
for what you're
right,
saying to me?
Yeah.
right,
Right, right,
right,
Yeah,
right.
so true.
right. Yeah, so like, I was thinking the other day that why is the word trust attached to something like almost negative a lot of the times? Like a it's almost like a cancellation of what precedes it or comes after it, or it almost seems like it contradicts each other. So like even let's start with Keenan's thing where there's a hymn that says trust and obey, right? Um, Something like that. When you think of trust, like by definition, a lot of times it's like a faith type of move, because like you don't always have facts to build trust off of. Like sometimes you just have to go and it's just like trust me. So like if you get blindfolded and someone's like I'm gonna lead you, you have to at least have some trust in that person before you agree to like be led in a certain direction, right? So
Right.
why does why does building trust seem like it always has to like go hand in hand with this faith measure? Let's start there.
Whew. That's
I guess
heavy.
that's the beginning part, wouldn't you say? If I trust you, that means I have some faith that you're not gonna let something bad happen to me. So if I have no faith in you, then ultimately I'm probably not gonna trust you at all.
Can you go through life without trust? So like some people legit have trust issues, like they don't trust people. Can you actually go through life successfully and not trust?
I think you can.
I
Say that
think
louder, Jamal. Say it louder.
I know. I think you can. I think there's different levels to trust. I mean, it's like your relationship with people. You have your acquaintances, then you have your friends, and then you maybe have family people that. Well, everyone's relationship with their family is the same, but in my family, I feel like I trust my family more than I would trust, let's say, my friends or like my acquaintances. So you have to be able to understand, okay, what's my level of trust with these people? What do I then share with them, or how my relationship may be formed based off of my trust in them? What information I share with them? I think there's different levels to it. So I think I can go my whole life only really trusting my family and not let's say trust acquaintances because I guess there's like a level of risk there. Like if I don't have any faith and trust in you, then I'm not going to share stuff with you that may ultimately bite me in the back.
Mm.
So Andre brings up a point here, right? Would it really be trust if you knew the outcome? He's
No.
right.
He's right, but then why can't I just know the outcome? It's just like,
It's
like
not
Then he
trust.
why,
wouldn't.
Well, you don't know the
Then he
future. You
wouldn't
don't know if
rely
it's
on
really going to
trust.
happen.
Okay.
Yeah, but even if you have a high likelihood that it's going to come out positively for you, it's not trust. I mean, you have some perception of what it's going to be.
Right.
Um, so I think, Mom said because we have been disappointed many times on many levels, especially from those we least expect to disappoint us.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, and that forgiveness piece, especially when you've been wronged, is hard. But I don't know that you can go through life. I think it's better for two to walk together. you know
Mm.
so if one falls or fails, the other one can help, right? So we need each other to climb and to go through life. And so if you're always distrusting of people, I mean, what kind of existence is that? Everyone's out with an agenda just to get you. I mean, it's like literally walking through a thorn bush,
Well,
just
people are
waiting for the
wicked.
prick.
It's
Huh?
like people are wicked.
People are wicked.
They are, yeah, yeah. So people are evil, right? Born in
Very
sin,
evil.
shaped in iniquity, right? So people are evil. I get all that. But if you're always looking at people as suspect, I can't imagine what that existence is like. Everyone is gonna do you wrong eventually. I mean, I think I would just, my anxiety level would be through the roof, if I couldn't trust anybody. And so I think you're right. There are different levels to it, right? Um, so I inherently know that you're not going to hurt me, right? Like I don't know. You could, but I trust that you're not gonna hurt me. And if you bring something to me, I'm gonna trust that I know you well enough that you're not gonna try to get one over on me,
Mm.
right? I don't know that you wouldn't, but I can have that basic level of trust. Now, if it's something deeper than that, we may have to vet it a little bit differently, right? Shane and I talked about a situation a little while back, and my thing to him when I presented it to him is, let me get some more information, because I was very concerned about bringing my friend into a situation where he was going to get burned. And I told him flat out, I would never do that to you, period. So let me get the info. And when it was all said and done, I came back and said, yo, listen, this is, I'm not gonna go forward. Here is why I'm not going forward. This is on you. But if you decide to move forward, it's on you. But I'm not in it, and I would never pitch something to you that my heart is
Mm.
not into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's just me, and I want to believe that he would treat me the same way, because that's just, that level of trust is there.
Right. So there's this definition of trust as firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or some things. And the quote that they have around it is relations have to be built on trust. So the synonym that goes along with it is confidence and belief. So hearing all that, and once again, it's the firm belief in the reliability, the truth, the ability, or the strength of someone or something. Um, I think that gives a good definition of why it is so hard to trust people. It's like sometimes it's just like I don't think it's possible to like really live a full life without trust. Um and like when you get married, you're in a relationship, there has to be trust there. And like I'm sure we've all either seen on TV or like in our personal lives where like a lack of trust doesn't lead to anything. Like you feel like you're protected, like you're protecting yourself, but then you're not really free if you trust no one?
Yeah.
So let's start here. Is it enough to just trust God? So like say you have friends, right? And you put your faith and trust in God, that's no question, right? But you don't feel like you have anyone that you trust here on earth. Can you live life that way?
I think that's unrealistic.
Yeah,
I think you have to have a person, and I think going back to what I was saying, I think there's different like with the levels of trust, and I think ultimately trust is earned. So you have to understand what is your risk with the person. Like you go back to your definition that you gave regarding trust. How closely does the person I'm interacting with line up with that definition? Is it 100%? Is it 50%? And then like somebody wrote in the comments, you have to use discernment.
Mhm.
Discernment, instinct, wisdom, insight. All those things play a factor. Like you're just not about to go trust the person that you just met like last week and be like, hey, I did X, Y, and Z, or share very intimate or deep things. But a person that you've been friends with for years, or like a family member, or somebody you've interacted with, like, that you can understand what's my risk with this person. Once you understand that person you're interacting with, then you understand how much can I trust that person.
Mm,
So you can't go through life without people, but you have to be smart about it. Like just don't go around trusting anybody.
okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, with your friendships, do you feel like to be called friend, there has to be trust?
Yeah.
absolutely. You can't call
Yeah.
somebody your friend and you don't have some form of relationship built over, a few years or a few months just to just to call them friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how I guess the thing with this generation is they like to use the word like, oh, I like their vibe or whatever they say
I
now.
I
And they automatically become best friends and all of that stuff, and then a couple of weeks or a couple of months later they fall out because that person wasn't really a true friend, or you really couldn't trust them, or you didn't build that trust. Kind of like what Jamal said, like trust is earned. It's not just given to any and everybody. So you kind of have to go through that vetting process with that friend or that person to see if they earn that title of that friend and somebody you can trust and depend on.
Mm. So Alegna said absolutely. So are you saying absolutely like you can have a friend and not trust? Is that am I understanding
I
that
think
wrong?
she was
that's a
responding
big
to
for
"No man is an island. We need each other." Is that what you're responding to, Alegna?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Um, but there's a lot of when you look at social media, when you look at like reality TV, when you look at a lot of things, um, betrayal is one of the like the um, strongest things that you see out there nowadays. And what did Andre say? He said even Jesus had friends, and although they let him down, he still chose them. Wow. I think that's
Judas
significant, and
let
he
him
was
down too.
providing an example. But at the head of everything, he was God. So even when they let him down, he still had his heavenly Father.
Hmm.
Okay.
That is an interesting standpoint.
It is Judas. Judas.
Judas, yeah, Peter too now.
Yeah.
That one was pretty harsh too. I mean, one sold him
He
out,
was
but
like, I
one sold
don't
him out a
know.
bunch of times.
Right.
That's actually now
That's
okay.
a good
Jesus,
point.
that and that's like all right, now you got me thinking here. That's a
But
good point.
and then Peter becomes the man on which the church is built.
Wow.
I
Hmm.
mean, that's saying so. I mean, maybe we should be talking about forgiveness here. I mean,
That yeah, that's actually a very good point. Like the very so that says something about trust though, that Jesus was willing to be betrayed
yeah,
because of a potential future outcome.
Mm.
yeah.
So when it comes to trust and risk, sometimes it's worth the risk to trust. Oh, you're like,
It's
hold
different
on.
with Jesus.
Okay.
I think it's different with Jesus. He knew what was going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you do have to assume some risk, though, right?
Of course, you always assume some risk, but you want to always make sure that you're minimizing your risk as much as possible. So
Right.
you wouldn't jump in like, oh, my risk is 60% or like 60 or it's whatever you're comfortable with, I guess. It
Right.
depends on the person. Like, what and then hey, go for it. But understand your comfortability may end up getting you burned ultimately at the end of the day.
Right. Some people can be way too gullible and get themselves hurt or burned, like Jamal was saying.
Yeah, you got to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask the people in the audience and then also you guys, what are some things that you look for before you trust someone?
So as they're preparing to answer, so Alegna did clarify that she was responding to your comment, Jamal. Assessing your risk with people in your life and not just trusting the first person you meet.
Okay.
So we'll wait for the comments to roll in.
Yeah, so what do you guys think? What are some of the characteristics that you look for in someone that you trust? If you had to do a list, what are some of the things you look for?
If they're telling me other people's business, then probably they're gonna repeat my business too. So I'm like, I don't know if I
Ooh,
can.
yes, sir.
Right.
Yes,
Maybe it's different
sir.
when you're like it's like a really close friend. Maybe that's different. But I'm like, if you quick to just tell people's business, I don't know about that.
And then tell you, you know, I never do you like that.
Like, sure.
And another thing is that person like always in drama. They always got some
Right.
Yeah.
issue going on. Then that's a red flag right there. It's like, this isn't the type of person that I should be hanging out with or kind of trust. Like if you always in some drama or in the middle of some type of argument, then it's like, nah.
And that's it's and you have some people that are so attracted to that, and they can drag you in, man. Just there's always some drama going on. There's always something happening. At some point, I've told some people, I mean, come on, man. This doesn't happen to regular people this often. It's you. You're the common denominator here. Like this always happens to you. Come on, man. Like you gotta look internally, and you've got to grow from that, man. Whatever it is.
Right. You know what's very interesting about your responses so far, though? You guys did the same thing that people used to do when they first said that. Oh, you're a Seventh-day Adventist. Like, tell me about it. Well, I don't eat pork and I don't eat. Like, you told me all the things that trust isn't. It's just like, what are some of the things that you do look at for trust, though?
You do look at?
Mm-hmm.
I guess their demeanor when it comes to situations where it may be something that's kind of private. I guess how do they react? Like how are they? I think it's the same thing. I'm just kind of phrasing it.
Just phrase it differently.
Yeah, it is. You watch the way they move. Yeah.
Yeah, you watch the way you have to watch how they move.
Okay.
Yeah.
How they talk.
If you're not trustworthy with your other friends, what makes you think you're going to be trustworthy with me?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Andre said, "I just pay attention. To be honest, look at their track record with you."
Right.
I like that. I think time does show a lot of. I feel like people can only wear a mask for so long. So like I do like to just sit and observe. Don't ask, necessarily like questions because like anybody can answer anything any way they want to, right? But I do observation is like my number one thing, and then like I look how you how you interact with other people, because I'm not going to assume it's going to be different because it's just going to change with me, right? Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like I'm that special at all. So what Jamal said, and do they hold themselves accountable when they make mistakes, or are they quick to blame others?
That's a big piece. Actually, she raised a really good piece because, granted, some people make mistakes. Like everyone's not in it just to be an untrustworthy person. They can realize that and say, hey, what I did was wrong. I apologize for that. I think that's something to take into consideration. If it doesn't, you don't want it to become a common theme with this person. It's like, yeah, I did do that, and I'm sorry that it keeps happening over and over. It's like, nah, you're lying to me, and you're not a trustworthy person.
Exactly.
I do look for that ability to apologize, though. That is important to me. Like if you can acknowledge you're wrong, and we can come to some common ground. But I agree, if it just keeps happening over and over again, at that point, you're just sketchy. You're dishonest. But if you're quick to apologize when you mess up, that goes a long way with me. Because I know that's how I operate. Like I mean, if I can see I'm wrong, it takes literally barely any effort to acknowledge wrong, and then the work comes afterwards in trying to make it right and not repeating the same wrong again.
I like that. Gail says talks a lot about others. Yeah. And Phaedra has a good one. Consistency.
Yeah. I like that one, Phaedra.
Trust has a track record. that like those that just really goes hand in hand with like um to prove that you're trustworthy, you have to have a track record. But there's just some people that no matter what just have problems with trusting. Just trusting.
Yeah.
Like it's just you don't get in a space where no matter how good the person is, no matter how much you think they have a good track record, you still have this inability to like trust.
Right?
And
Because they
But there's
probably
always a catalyst for that, though, right?
yeah, because people have probably been burned so many times.
Yeah, there's something
Like,
that happened that I mean, do
childhood
people just?
trauma, your parents let you down, multiple people
Yeah,
let you down, friends let you down, and so it just becomes this like psychological issue to where it's just like you don't trust anybody. Like if you had multiple failed relationships, you build up that wall. You don't want to trust the next guy or the next girl to come into your life, even though they could be telling you the truth. Like you're not gonna know, you're not gonna trust them because you have this wall built up from so much past pain and trauma that it's
mm,
difficult to start trusting people again.
ooh, I like that, CJ. Trauma. That's a trauma response.
Right.
mm,
I'll use myself personally. I'm not really quick to trust people at all. I wouldn't say I've been burned by people, but I've seen other people get burned by people. I guess like growing up, my parents always like learn from other people's mistakes. So
Yes,
I look at
sir.
other people get burned,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yes.
yeah, let me raise that guard a little bit higher.
And
Granted,
that's the thing.
people and granted, people have access. It's just like you're not about to be my friend for like 4 or 5 months. I'm like, I trust you completely. Like I'm not
Right,
Yeah.
gonna risk
right,
that.
right.
My friends who've been in my life for like years. I'm like, yo, you've been there consistently. I do trust you. You show me your track record, but I'm not quick to trust people at all. I've seen people get really burned by trusting
Yeah,
people.
man.
The wrong
Right.
people, I would say, the wrong
And I
people.
think that's such a thing that's missing because I hear some people say, I wanna make my own mistakes. No, I'm good. I'll watch
oh
yours.
no.
Tell me how it went.
Right.
I'll learn from that.
Once bitten, twice shy. Wow.
That's right.
Now let me ask you this though. If you've been bitten and like say you cut off a person, is it fair to the next people that come along in your life to have to climb over or try to like have to like knock down a wall to make you feel comfortable and worthy of trust?
I wouldn't say there's a really a problem with it. Like we said before, it's something that you've developed or that past trauma. I mean, if that person wants to really be in your life wholeheartedly, they'll try, but it might be a little bit harder than the regular person. But if they really want to be your friend or they really want to get into that relationship with you, they'll try and try and try, and eventually that wall might start to break down a little bit, and that person might start to let you in a little bit more and more and more each time that they see
Mm,
that you're trying. So if you don't succeed the first time, try again, and that goes into that persistence that you guys were talking about earlier.
hmm. So you might have to
I'm
put
willing
in
to give
work.
you a shot. I don't know if it's necessarily a wall. I mean, but I will be discerning and I will watch the way you move still, not judging you based on somebody else. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna take precautions. But I try not to hold other people responsible for other folks' mistake. But if the situations are similar, if I was burned in a particular situation and I find myself in a similar deal or a similar conversation or whatever with a
Right.
different person, then I'm going to remember the trauma of the situation and
Hmm.
wonder if this person has similar intentions. So um, I think you learn from your mistake. I don't think that's necessarily distrustful. I think that's more just experience and being discerning.
Mm. So I have some comments here. Phaedra said, "Friends and family do not always show up consistently throughout the course of life. However, our God, our Father, is always consistent." I like that, and we're gonna come to that at the end. Elegna says, "I can say I'm like that. I can trust someone, but in the back of my mind, I always question that person's trust, even if they never burn me." I'm the same way, Elegna. I've never
Mhm.
burned. I've been burned so much by my own family, like CJ said, that mental trauma, it's hard to break. Gail says they must prove themselves, and Carolyn said my friends once told me you need to heal first from being bitten. So when that new person in your life, either friend or partner, doesn't suffer from whatever hurt you. Um, so let me
So
let
I
me put
like
this
that
out there,
Carolyn piece.
huh?
I like that what Carolyn wrote there.
Mhm.
Um, you have folks that are hurt in a relationship and then they bounce right into a new relationship
Mm.
and they get hurt in that relationship. Then they bounce into a third relationship and they're bringing it just slowly coming along with them.
Mm-hmm.
But they never took the time to heal from any one of those situations. And eventually this all comes to a head. And that is important to heal and to whatever healing looks like, whether it's therapy or just self-awareness or self-reflection. I think healing is important not just for relationships but just for just friendships and family. Like, what are your boundaries when it comes to trust? What are you willing to accept and not accept, and define what that means for you so you can move forward? Because as we said earlier, you really don't want to go through life being distrustful of everybody.
Right.
But you got to set your boundaries at the same time.
So let me like mess us up a little bit, or attempt to. Everybody in this chat and on this show, I would hope, feels like they're trustworthy.
Right.
So the odds are there's someone out there that feels like you can't be trusted.
Oh, I'm sure I can name one for you.
So I just want us to understand this
Oh
is one of
man.
those areas that everybody, can kind of like think of a person that they feel like they can't trust, but then also realize there's someone out there that feels like you can't be trusted.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
So how do we get in these positions where that's where, the beginning question is like, okay, if everybody has someone that they don't trust or can't trust, what do you do? Because we're all either the victims, but also the people that do it to people.
Perpetrator and a victim.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's
Is it perspective,
people, we
point of
don't
view?
always mesh together, right?
Okay.
Everybody is not meant to, be connected with each other. And we may see things differently. Our perspectives may be different on certain things. Um, I think what I'm more concerned is, are you purposefully being untrustworthy? Are you purposely trying to
Attention.
inflict pain? Or is that the kind of person you are? Or this is just who you are and we're not vibing or gelling, and we can come to common terms. We may not be best friends out of it, but we can come to common ground. I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. And then we got to keep in mind we're different people at different ages and stages of life. So who we were, 5, 10, 15 years ago is not who we are now. And so, have you grown from the situation for which someone no longer trusts you?
Mm,
That's good.
that's a good
Yeah,
point.
because I mean, like Sanjay was saying, you could be friends with someone in this stage of life, and then like you matured and you grew, and then that person looks at you different and be like, "Oh, you changed." So now they feel like they can't trust you because you
Hmm.
matured to another stage in life, and they're still stagnant or they're doing something else. So it just might seem like, oh, they can't trust you anymore. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Can't hear you there, Jamal. We
Jamal,
can't hear you, bro.
your things, man.
Man, you get these $20 AirPods, man.
I thought Shane had the $20 AirPods.
Well, the Jamal must got a $10 one.
I'm like, this one's
He got
dying.
he got them from Five and Below.
Connecting. So,
Wow.
hey,
What
I
were you
tried.
saying? I thought
say
you were
say it one more
talking,
time,
Jamal.
Jamal.
I don't remember what I was gonna say.
Oh man, that's crazy. Zania had a comment. She said it's not unfair per se for a new person to have to climb over. At this point in life, we all should know everybody has something. We got to build relationships patiently and with grace, and not just rush to be everything to a person. Wow, that's that's a good point. As a friend or a significant. I like that. So that's, the question came to me with like trust. I think it's hard to go through life and not trust at least one person. But
Yeah.
to know that everybody's felt betrayed at some point, and everybody's, even unintentionally, has been a perpetrator, like how do you go along in life with that in the back of your mind? So Gavin says sometimes people don't trust you not because you're doing something bad to them, but because you're doing something different from their expectations. That's a
Mm.
good point. people even become suspect when you appear good.
Mm.
Yep.
That's true.
So you're not even like all the others where you're just like, ah, no, 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 no. But then when you're actually, you seem all right, you're still suspect. So like, where's the win?
It's like you can't win in those situations.
Some
Mm.
people were just not meant to be friends. That
Yeah.
point blank period.
And then some people are not meant to have friends at that point either.
I'm not saying not to have friends, but some people they're just not meant to be friends with those two people. They're probably just not meant to be friends. You know what I'm saying?
It's kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like CJ talked about how you end up growing past or you become more mature
Exactly.
as a person. And I always find it funny how people hold that against you. It's like, oh,
Right.
you think you grew or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm not 15 anymore.
Right.
I'm not doing the
All
same
right.
things anymore. Like we gotta do something better. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Carolyn said, honestly, if I've personally haven't done you wrong that you can't trust me and you're on the outside looking, then it's on you. If you trust me or not. Can't judge a book if you've never read it.
I don't know.
Okay.
Who can I trust? Like, let me test this situation. It's like, I'll watch from afar.
Hmm.
But then it's so, I've learned over the years that you got to look at the other person's experience. So you may not feel like you've personally wronged me, but I may feel that you have wronged me.
Mm.
Right.
And so your actions are hurtful to me. So I'm more looking not on my actions, but on the effect of my actions on you.
Mm.
And so if the effect of my actions on you are wrong, then I don't have a problem apologizing and saying, because that wasn't my intention, wasn't to do you harm. But the way you perceived it or interpreted it or the effect on you was negative. And so um I don't know, but I think we have to be a little bit more compassionate about that, because what may be normal to us may not be normal to the next person.
Mm. It's like that effect where you always feel like someone's out to get you in a
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
But you know what? In protecting, there's like a quote that's like, in protecting yourself, you've actually placed yourself in your own jail.
Oh yeah.
And like,
That's valid though.
and it's facts. Like it's like you're trying to like build this wall, and you don't even realize that you've placed yourself in jail. And it's like, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't really have, and like, it's all on you at that point to get yourself out of jail. And like when it comes to trust, that's like something that's one of like the harder lessons for me to like learn over time, is like just even begin to like trust people, because
Yeah.
like you feel like you're protecting yourself by not trusting, but then mentally, like in just a lot of different ways, you're trapped, and you
Yeah.
can't move through life without some level of trust. And you know what's funny? I think you can't separate the trust on this level from like a trust in God as well, because like a lot of people that trap themselves in their own jail cell with trust also have problems trusting God as well. Like it's
Mm.
like very synonymous, where you feel like you have to be in control of your situation. You have to know where it's going at all times. You're like if God is silent in something, or is not like revealing something, or he's not moving fast enough, you're just like, yo, no, I'm gonna take matters into my own hands. And like trust
Mm.
always comes with that level of faith and like risk, because like you believe, like, okay, God, I believe that you can and you will do it, but you can't see the future. So
Yeah.
you don't know
Right.
what like can and will do in your eyes is different from what his can and will do in his viewpoint and how he's going to do it. So I don't actually look at trust any different than when he says, don't say that you love me if you can't even love your neighbor, that like literally is down here. Like, how can you say you love the Father that you can't see, and then the people you can see you don't love? Like, you
Right.
can't separate those two. And I think like just with the human experience and the earth experience, like when you see life and plants and stuff like that, there's like a lot of things that God has left as examples in a spiritual realm. So doesn't trust operate in the same way?
Mm.
I've just got some. Are we
No,
thinking?
it's
Am I
good
gonna get
stuff.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, like it's a really crazy concept to really understand that. Like, whoa, there might be some risk, but going back to the topic that we talked about with Jamal, like your trust experience may not just be for you, but it may be for another person. Like, and I know like in church sometimes we've talked about with even testimonies how there's some things that people just won't talk about, and that's cool. That's their prerogative. Like God has to tell you when to reveal certain things. But at the same time, you keeping your testimony and for the sole fact that it's either like embarrassing or you don't feel like it's anybody's business. Like I said, there's some things that are like that, but there are some things you go through that wasn't just for you, but it's for
Right.
someone else. And if you place your embarrassment and the risk over changing someone's life, then
Right.
we might have some trust issues right there in that
Yeah.
moment.
Right. If
And like,
if you can be transparent to save someone's life, man, I think you should always take that risk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ooh,
I
and it's
agree.
always worth the risk, bro.
It's for the
Always.
greater good, so it's like it shouldn't even be. It's like a no brainer.
Right. If you
It
know
should be.
somebody is struggling with a particular situation that you went through and you got over it, and you know somebody's struggling with it and you don't say anything, I
Yeah.
think God would be more upset at that than the actual person
Yeah.
yourself going through that situation.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's no way you can't be held guiltless for that because it's like
Mhm.
God like brought you through. Like you have to like focus on the end result of like where He's brought you through, and just
Mhm.
because there's like a story with it, and you keep that from like someone like things with like trauma, like whatever it is, like there's several experiences that other people have gone through and haven't got to your place and your position. And like
Yeah.
literally that one conversation, that one testimony has the power to change the trajectory of someone's life. Like
Because
it's crazy.
it's hard to be in a situation you feel like only yourself is going through, like no one else is experiencing what you're experiencing. And I think it's a consistent theme that we see through the Bible. I think even like we look at like Elijah, when Elijah's like, God, like, I'm the only person left. And God's like, nah, like you're not the only person left. Like there's others out there. You may not see it. So imagine if you could like speak with them like, yeah, like I'm in this situation, they're out there killing us. And you find like someone else is like, oh, like you're in the same situation as me. It's not like you're both gonna suffer together, but it's like, hey, I went through that situation, I overcame it. Let
Mhm.
me tell you something. With God on your side, you can absolutely overcome this. That's just that it does a lot for people, and I think it's something that we don't do enough in church,
Right.
because
That's what
a
to
lot
say.
of times we're all trying to pretend like we all have our lives together and everything's perfect and dandy. Meanwhile, we should be upfront with these things like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or like, hey, I went through this situation, and you're going through it. Like it's hard, it's tough when you're in it, but you can oversee. Like it's not like you're gonna this is it, it's over.
And you
Right.
know what? I flashed the picture back on the screen about the today's society with like the boat again, where
Yeah.
like one side is sinking and the other one is like saying like, oh, at least it's not me. Like it would suck to be on that side. Uh, and like Pastor Bonner, like man, I wish I could just bring you on so you could like just like rap it for me. But like he said, people must show themselves trustworthy genuinely before you can begin trusting, and I agree with that.
Absolutely.
But then how about this concept? Jesus died before even people loved him, right? Like he bestowed this love. And like I think as Christians, there's going to be times where we have to love the unlovable. So we're going to have to
Mhm.
love before we are shown love. We're going to have to be this example to people before they earn it. So
Right.
once again, going back to even like this testimony track, this risk track, there's like a level of trust that has to be given and might that has to, especially if God tells you, God ordains it, and especially if it has the power to like save someone, you might have to be the person that you don't even know this person. There might be some one-time encounters where
Right.
you don't know nothing about this person
Or like
and you
camp
got to
meeting
take
or
the risk. You don't know
something,
what
and
they're
you
going
gotta
to do
share
with
the
it.
testimony.
Right. Exactly, exactly, exactly. There's some good comments. Amanda's like, community must also be taught to not give awkward looks after someone gives their testimony. That will preach.
Yeah.
See, I just didn't want to cut you off when she wrote that down because I mean that was it right there. I think that's and Zania follows up on it. I don't know why we are this way, and I think the community of believers need to be taught this. It's like you look, it's almost, you almost wonder if it's jealousy. If that they're looking at somebody else's testimony and they're looking at that person in a negative light when the person is really just trying to share how God has been good to them. But
Right.
you're sitting over there, and sometimes you got to wonder: does the devil own you that you're not going through nothing, or is it that you just like how are you not appreciative of that? Like I'm sitting down listening to some people's testimonies, and I am saying, man, thank God that is not me. Like some burdens are for you to bear. Like go ahead and keep it
You
over
won't
there.
give you more than
But
you can
but I
handle.
tell you what, I'm gonna praise with you. I'm gonna say hallelujah for you. Like thank God he took you through it, and I'm not going through it. But sometimes we look over and or she thinks she's better than the rest of us, or he thinks he's. And I'm like no, like they going through something. Like praise with them, they got through it. But also we've also got to learn to talk about what we're going through so that we can be encouraged as we're going through it because we kind of climb up and we go through the situations by
by
ourselves
yourselves.
and it's causing a lot of depression, a lot of pain because we can't release it to the body of believers and we should be all able to bear that burden together, but we've kind of closed ourselves off, and that is a huge concern for me in the Christian movement right now is that folks have really closed themselves off and they're suffering, but they're suffering because of these bad experiences they've had with people that have talked behind their backs and thrown stones at them
Mm-hmm.
for what they're going through when the body of believers should have been wrapping those individuals in love and trying to nurture them through the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And those same body of individuals too, Sanjay, sometimes probably already went through the same situation you went through,
Yes.
and then they
Yes.
got the nerve to look at you sideways
Be
like they're
like,
gonna look at
Yeah.
you when they're younger.
Right.
It's like
I'm
what?
telling you, man. And what's sad is when you know what some folks done did. You done did
Right,
the math. Like
right,
you know
and you
they've
can
been
get them
there.
back, and you
And
can
you
get them
acting
back.
like you brand new, like you just
right,
Right.
saved and sanctified now 5,
right.
10, 15 years after the fact, and you know you've been there.
Yeah.
So it's like it just it bothers me. Like just don't. It's just not the place to cast a judgment, man. Let's work together as
Mm-hmm.
one body in Christ to build up the church, the individual churches, and we have to stop that. And I see it. We watch it. Those of us who are professional Christians have all sat back and watched and seen folks do that. You know what I mean? Like it's not a good look. And what's interesting is new believers can smell it right away.
Yo, for real.
Mm.
They
Mm-hmm.
sense it right away and they come in and they go right through the back door because
Yeah.
they're wondering to themselves, I just left the mess out here. I
Mm.
came in here to the same mess. I thought y'all was different.
Right.
And now they're out, and it's
Right.
harder to get them back after they've gone. So
Right.
we've really got to build each other up, man. We've really got to do that. So anyhow, Amanda, you writing that prompted that whole little tirade. So I appreciate you putting it in
Yeah.
there.
I
And
know a
I
lot
don't
of
know who
people
you are,
resonate.
but that's some powerful stuff right there.
Yeah, Amanda used to come to our church. I hope she's not talking about our church, but anyway. Phaedra says trusting gives a sense of peace, and it also allows us the opportunity to be able to relax, knowing that God is in control. If we don't trust, we can become very uncomfortable in our thought. Trusting is very critical component in our walk with Christ. That's a very
Yeah.
good point. It's like holding toxins inside of you potentially, when you like when you're holding stuff like that in. And Legna agrees with Amanda. Sometimes like the judgment that comes with it. And this is what I'll say, and I think Andre says like Jesus came on a mission. I think is a little bit different. This is what I'll tell you. Don't just do something, just because. Like I think everything, like Pastor Bonner even says, like you have to use discernment, right? Know when to say something and how to say it. But at the same token, I want you to balance this. Don't not do something because of what the people in the church are going to say or how they're going to look at you. Because like in front of God, like that's not going to pass. That's not going to like he's not going to hold us guiltless for us like something at that. So you do have to balance between the discernment of what God tells you to do, despite what other people may come and say. Vulnerability, yeah, that's like really preach, Sanjay. Okay, he's preaching. The judgment will push people right
I
out the
tell you what,
church.
Pastor Bonner, whenever you want me to come down again, man, you just look.
Oh
Listen,
man,
y'all, if y'all don't know, Pastor Bonner is my favorite guy, man. I love you to death, Pastor Bonner. Just so y'all know, Pastor Bonner baptized and married me.
mm,
Married us. So he holds a special place in my heart.
right. And he had to build that trust to get to that point.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Let me tell you something. I tell people this all the time. That premarital counseling is still holding weight 15 years later. So,
Amen.
definitely someone, when he speaks, I listen. Definitely a man of God, and I definitely trust him for
Man,
sure.
take that affirmation, Pastor Bonner. Like, I definitely agree. You are definitely that person. And
Yes.
not to ignore Carolyn's comment. If you can't confide and give praises with your own people community, who can you go to? And I think that's a
Yeah.
very important
Ooh.
thing as a
Oh
community
wow.
of people. One, it starts with us. You know, don't always look at all the other people and just name them the church because we are part of the church. So that means we have the power to make a difference. So even when there's like potentially a pack of wolves, like you have to be that sheep that shows the difference. And that's like the good thing about light. Like no matter how dark a place is, one flame and you'll be able to see it. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's our responsibility that even in the body of believers, if you see all this negativity, if you see um all of this happening, you can be that flame. And like it is a heavy burden, but like the thing about flames is like a flame just burns. Like it begins to add and add and add. It grows bigger, but somebody has to be the flame. So Carolyn,
You
like
know,
you got to be that person at times. Like I got to be at that person at time. We got to take the risk with that.
Mm-hmm.
but I think even on that question, sometimes we look at when we talk about like church and community, I think sometimes it's a little bit too broad. As you look at the early church and how they didn't really do church the way that we did, their churches weren't as big as our churches. And I think that's a lot of churches have pivoted to this aspect of doing like small groups. You have small intimate relationship with these people that you build trust, you build a relationship with you can really confide in, and they can be like a supplement to your Christian walk because
Hmm.
granted all of us we can't do that walk alone. We need those people to kind of support us, but it's not something that's freely given. It in a small group you learn to build trust amongst these
That's
people.
true.
You're able to relate to them, and I think in those aspects you find the people that you're looking for, maybe outside the larger community of the church, but you
Hmm.
find those people that you have built a relationship that you can confide in. And, that kind of sets them apart, and then they contribute to your Christian walk.
I like that. Yeah, small groups are definitely very
Yeah.
powerful. And in the absence of small groups, that's why you have to be so intentional about like your community and your friend groups. Like you have to be intentional because there
That's
sometimes it's a
very
little bit harder to be specific and look out for them, but they exist. But you have to be intentional about looking out for it. So we're getting ready to land this thing. I'm gonna read a couple of these quotes, and it says, "To earn trust, you must extend trust. With trust, you gain influence." So to earn trust, um, you have to extend trust. With trust, you gain influence. Even if someone trusts you, that was them extending trust. They took that risk to trust you. So at some points, like we're gonna have to be that person that extends trust as well. Um, Trust is like cash deposits and withdrawals. So before you make a withdrawal from the bank, you have to deposit. And that's an important concept to remember that it works like deposits and withdrawals. You have to make more deposits than withdrawals. It's not one for one. And that was an interesting concept. Whenever you lose somebody's trust, you can do that one time and it's lost for a minute. You can do
Mhm.
10 things to earn somebody's trust, and you might finally regain back that trust that you lost from that one time. So, like, that's an important concept to remember about trust. Um, Influence guides others, and that requires trust. So if our mission on here on earth is to go ye therefore preach the gospel, first of all we have to preach to people, and for them to trust us, they have to look at our lives and be like, okay, is your life matching up to what you're preaching? and then that gains trust, and then they're like, okay, you know what, I can follow this person, like, and that's literally like on even like a broader concept, like what trust is in life. Like you have to be, when someone looks at you, can they say that they trust you? So what I want you guys to really go away and think about today is like, am I trustworthy? Not just saying like, yeah, you can trust me, but like look at how you conduct yourself, look at how you talk, look at how you walk, and are you trustworthy in that aspect? Especially as a Christian, if you're a representative of God, can God trust you? You really have to think about that. So with that in mind, Sanjay, would you please pray for us?
Most definitely. Father in heaven, we thank you for this venue. We thank you for this occasion. We thank you for bringing our voices together, for bringing an audience together, a body of believers together, Lord. We thank you for extending your word through technology, and we thank you for the conversations that we've had. In such a time as this, Lord, where we are so far apart from each other, we thank you for bringing us together at a time like this, Lord. Just over 30 souls coming together to speak about you, to speak about important topics. We thank you for that, Lord. We praise you for that. We ask now that as we are in our separate places and as we go our separate ways, we ask, Lord, that your blessings will shine down on us. We ask that your angels will protect us. We ask, Lord, that you'll put a hedge up around each and every one of us that is within the sound of my voice, and those that are to hear my voice later on, Lord. I pray for blessings in our lives. We pray that you will draw us closer to you, that we'll have a firm relationship with you, that we'll be able to see your glory manifested through us. Lord, we pray that you will be with the audience, and whatever the issue is, whatever the sins may be, Lord, we ask that you'll forgive us of all of our sins, and we ask that you will help us to walk in a new light as we move forward with our lives. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much. I want to thank my panelists. I want you to thank you guys for joining the walk. But before we go, I had to drop this flyer on the screen. You guys are the first to know. Corona might have really messed us up this year, but we could not let this moment pass. So, International Weekend 2.0 by MZ Youth Ministries is coming October 17th and 18th. And you will not want to miss this. We're going to do this in a socially responsible way. We promise you that. But we're going to become innovative. So, you want to mark the calendar right now, October 17th through 18th. There's going to be a great worship service that you can view online with special cultural inflections. But then on the 18th, which is the Sunday, there's going to be an international food festival. And this time it's going to be express. And what that means is you're going to go through a drive through and be able to pick up some fresh food from multiple different countries from the safety of your car. All right. So look out for details. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram to know when all the complete details drop, but make sure you know October 17th and 18th. We expect to see your support for International Weekend. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us and for your support. Later, guys.
Bye, guys. Take care. Love you.